Simgot is back with the new IEM, the Supermix 4 coming in at about $150. Now, this was sent by Simgot for review, and as always, this is my opinion with my own experience using this IEM. The Supermix 4 is a quad driver IEM featuring one dynamic driver, one balanced armature, one planar, and one piezoelectric driver. Driver story. But hey, if it works, that's what matters in the end. The Supermix 4 comes with the usual Simgot style packaging, no anime mascots, and more just focused on the IEM itself and its particular theme, in this case the drivers. For accessories, we also get the usual Simgot selection of tips, and their hard shell carrying case. This case is still one of my favorites out of many other IEM cases, although this one also has a gold zipper to fit with the gold accents of the IEM. The included cable is also a bit on the heavier side, with thicker wires and a braid. The cable is also a few inches shorter than most other IEM cables, which is something that I do appreciate. I most often use IEMs when on the go and plugged into my phone in my pocket, and I think that this length suits that sort of use case better. It also kind of implies that the IEM is more for personal listening and enjoyment and not necessarily stage use, although cables can always be swapped. The IEM is on the thicker side, but for its size, it's comfortable and not too heavy in my ear. Most of the IEM is a resin shell, but then it has a lightweight metal faceplate. The nozzle is also 5.7mm, so even though the IEM itself is a bit on the larger side, it still fits in my ear comfortably without fatiguing. Tuning wise, this time it seems like they aimed a lot closer to the Harman target, and I think that this is their best attempt at reaching that tuning. It has a punchy bass response and cuts back on some of the low end warmth if that's the type of tuning that you prefer. For myself lately, I lean more towards the newer IEM tuning meta based on the 5128. But this is still very good sounding IEM, and some definitely prefer this type of tuning overall. But the way this is tuned also does address one of the main problems that I myself have with the IEM Harman target, which is the area just after the 3K peak. For me, I'm quite sensitive to that region, so having that specific area be dipped slightly after the 3K peak does help my own listening enjoyment, so it doesn't come across as harsh to my ear. One thing that I will say though, is that the treble is just slightly peaky, not to the point of being fatiguing or too much treble, since the entire treble region does seem a little bit elevated, but things like the initial hit of hi-hats does come across quite forward and just slightly sharp, and it causes that to stand out a bit more compared to the other instruments. Even the same transients of that hi-hat after the initial hit aren't quite as forward as those peaks. Again, it's not too bad or too harsh, but just for me it's a little distracting sometimes since it does come across a bit closer than the rest of the mix. Overall, it is a well done IEM, and I do think that I prefer it over some other $150 IEMs that I've reviewed on this channel. Compared with other Simgot IEMs, I like the way that the treble is handled on the EM6L a bit better, but I do also wish that the EM6L has slightly different low mids. The Supermix 4 comes across sounding a little bit more vocal focused, and a bit more spacious as well in the overall experience. Overall, I think that this is a good IEM, and I am excited to see what Simgot comes out with next.